Elin Mercer, a man who once measured wealth in coffee beans and essay grades, now found himself adrift in a sea of silk and starlight. His suit, a shimmering black diplomatic uniform, probably cost more than his entire life's possessions. He stood before a colossal mirror aboard the Unity Accord, the galaxy's most opulent spaceship, attempting to tame a collar that felt entirely too grand for him. Fraud, that was the word echoing in his mind. Just a year prior, he was a humble language teacher on Earth, a creature of cheap coffee and endless student papers. But a bizarre confluence of alien linguistic talent and political maneuvering had propelled him into an unimaginable role. Earth's inaugural junior diplomat to the Galactic Concord Council, an assembly of over 300 advanced civilizations. His mission today? A royal banquet hosted by the Zari Empire, an ancient and formidable power. Eat, smile. Don't trigger an intergalactic war. Simple, right? The elevator doors hissed open, revealing a breathtaking spectacle. The grand hall was a symphony of silver, its curved walls embracing a floating garden of luminous trees. Beyond the transparent ceiling, stars glittered like scattered diamonds. Soft, ethereal music drifted through the air, mingling with the murmur of dozens of alien languages. Nobles, resplendent in robes of every hue, drifted and glided across the floor, and at the heart of it all, seated on a crystalline throne, was Princess Zara. Her skin, like polished amethyst, seemed to absorb and reflect the hall's light. Long silver hair, intricately braided with jewels, cascaded around her. Her eyes, pools of violet and gold, shimmered with untold depths. She wore armor that defied definition, a masterpiece of art and protection, and a crown that hinted at planetary control. Eli swallowed hard. A butler, a blur of efficiency, materialized beside him. You are seated next to the princess. Please don't touch the food until she does. Great. No pressure, Eli muttered under his breath, the sarcasm entirely lost on the polite automaton Dot as he settled into the chair, which subtly adjusted to his form. Eli felt the invisible weight of 1,000 alien eyes. A tray of floating appetizers materialized before him. Princess Zara turned, offering a polite nod. He reciprocated. Good evening, Your Radiance, she blinked. You may call me Zara. Her voice, calm and musical, carried a hint of amusement. Okay. Zara, Eli said, striving for a confidence he didn't possess. I'm Eli Mercer, junior diplomat from Earth. What? Shit. Her violet and gold eyes seemed to narrow infinitesimally. The chaotic seed world. A beat of silence. I read your profile. Eli, utterly clueless as to the meaning of chaotic seed. World simply smiled. They engaged in a few minutes of small talk. She inquired about Earth's gravity, the peculiar human custom of neckties, and if Earth's oceans were still composed of raw hydrogen compounds. Eli responded with practiced politeness, though half the time he couldn't discern if she was serious or subtly teasing him. Then came the toast. The lights in the hall softened. A server floated towards Eli, presenting a tall, curved glass filled with an iridescent blue liquid. Everyone rose. Zara rose. Eli rose. The server then handed him a golden leaf, glowing with alien script. Read this aloud, the server instructed. It's part of the Zari bonding ritual. A diplomatic formality, they assured him. I just read it?" Eli peered at the glowing script. He could decipher most of it. Zari was one of the languages he diligently studied. He cleared his throat. 2 stars that burned to peace between hearts, to the unity of our spirits. May this alliance be sealed in truth and honor. He raised his glass. The hall fell into an unnerving silence. Zara gazed at him, her glowing eyes widening almost imperceptibly. Then she stepped forward, placing her hand gently on his chest. "Accepted," she whispered, her voice laced with an emotion Eli couldn't quite place. And then pandemonium. The hall erupted in applause. Trumpets blared. Flower petals, glowing with their own inner light, rained from the ceiling. A luminous symbol formed above them in the air, 2 interlocking rings. Nobles cheered in a cacophony of languages, clapping and dancing. Eli blinked. What? What just happened?" "You proposed to her," a pale voice behind him said. He turned to see the Concord's lead translator, looking ashen. "That wasn't just a toast. It was a marriage proposal. You used a formal vow of union joining." "I what?" "I was told it was a diplomatic phrase." "Yes," the translator grimaced. "It is. For joining empires through marriage." Eli looked back at Zara. She was still smiling. Later that evening, Ale stood alone on an observation deck, staring out at the constellations, desperately trying to rein in a spiraling panic attack. He had, by some cosmic blunder, accidentally, proposed to an alien princess who had even more bewilderingly said yes. This had to be a disaster. Earth's nascent seat at the galactic Concord table was precarious at best. If this sparked an incident, the doors slid open. Zara stepped inside, her movements as quiet as starlight. "I didn't mean to," Eli blurted out immediately. "I swear I thought it was just a diplomatic toast." "I know," Zara said, walking to stand beside him. Silence stretched between them, punctuated only by the distant hum of the ship. They looked out at the vast expanse of stars. "Then why did you say yes?" Eli finally asked. She tilted her head. "What? Because you didn't ask for power. You looked uncomfortable. That was refreshing," she said with a small smile. Then her voice softened. "Besides, I've had enough of suitors who only want my throne. You're strange, unpredictable, and full of panic. It's interesting." Eli blinked. "That's your type?" She stepped closer. "No, but maybe it could be." She leaned in, her whisper a gentle breeze. "Why don't you date me, human?" Eli's heart executed a full, dizzying backflip. She stepped back, a rare, almost shy smile gracing her lips. "You're not like the others," she said, "and my people need change. You might be the mistake we've been waiting for." Eli gave a nervous laugh. "That's not very comforting." "Don't worry," she said. "You'll get used to being uncomfortable. You're in politics now." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving him speechless. He looked back at the stars, his chest still thumping. Maybe Earth didn't quite belong in this galaxy yet, but he did. The next morning, Eli Mercer awoke in a room that dwarfed his entire apartment back on Earth. Soft golden light streamed through curved windows, revealing a breathtaking vista. The emerald clouds and floating spires of Zaire's prime, the capital world of the Zari Empire. It was a landscape plucked from a dream, colossal crystal towers, silver trees and glowing rivers that flowed through the very air. He sat up on the strangely soft bed, rubbing his face. I accidentally proposed to a space princess, he whispered to himself, and she said yes. A robotic bird flitted into the room, chirping, "Your breakfast, ambassador." "I'm not an ambassador," Eli muttered, still half asleep. "Not officially," the bird replied in a polite tone. "But after last night, the Galactic Concord has updated." "Your title," Eli sighed. "Of course they have." Upon arriving in the royal palace's main hall, he found Princess Zara already waiting. She was once again clad in ceremonial armor, though this iteration seemed more casual. Her silver hair was neatly tied, and her usual sharp expression was replaced by something akin to weariness. "You slept well?" she asked, without looking at him. Kind of. Hard to sleep when you think you started an intergalactic wedding by accident." Zara finally looked at him, a faint smile touching her lips. "You did not start a wedding, Eli. You started a movement." He blinked. "What kind of movement?" She gestured for him to walk with her through the palace's garden corridors. As they strolled, exotic birds sang melodious tunes overhead, and luminous fish swam through invisible streams. The walls shimmered with shifting light. Zara continued, "For centuries the Zari Empire has survived through traditional rules, ancient bloodlines, and arranged bonds with powerful noble houses. But now everything is fragile. The empire is split between the old houses and new voices." "I'm guessing you're one of the new voices," Eli said. She nodded. "Yes, and when you made that mistake last night, it gave me an idea." Eli's eyes narrowed. "What kind of idea?" She stopped and turned to face him fully. "I want to keep the engagement." Eli stared at her. "You're serious?" She nodded. "Think about it. You're from Earth. Your people are new to the Concord. Unpredictable, neutral. You have no ties to the noble houses, no ambitions for our throne. That makes you perfect. Perfect for what?" "A symbol," she said. "A symbol of peace, of change. A future where alliances aren't based on blood and war, but on choice." Eli let out a nervous laugh. "No, I'm just a teacher who studied alien languages, right? Not a hero or a soldier or—" "You are human," Zara said, stepping closer. "And right. Now that's enough." The next few days blurred into a whirlwind. Eli became the epicenter of galactic attention. Alien news channels broadcast his image everywhere. Half the galaxy hailed him as the bold human ambassador of love. The other half decried him as the chaos seed who had insulted the Zari crown. Meanwhile, Zara introduced him at official events as her chosen partner, a title that hadn't been used in a millennium. Eli found himself donning traditional Zari robes, which felt like wearing 3 jeweled curtains. He learned the intricacies of bowing, how to gracefully consume glowing fruit without causing offense, and how to answer reporters without actually answering them. Yet the relentless attention was overwhelming. Not everyone was pleased. One evening Eli found Zara in the palace's strategy room. She stood over a holographic map of the Empire, red and blue lights pulsing across star systems. "What's going on?" Eli asked. "Civil unrest," she replied. "Some of the noble houses think you're a threat. They say I've dishonored the throne by choosing an outsider. There are whispers of rebellion." "That's bad," Eli said. "Worse," she added. My arranged marriage with House Talvik was meant to stop this. But now that I've refused it and accepted you instead, the peace is breaking." Eli rubbed the back of his neck. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "I know," Zara said, her gaze steady. "But maybe it needed to happen." She looked at him, her eyes glowing gently. "We're going to fight this, Eli, but not with weapons. With something more powerful." "What's more powerful than weapons?" She smiled. "Hope." The following day, Zara led Eli to the voice chamber, a space where citizens of the Empire could communicate directly with the royal family through holographic calls. As they entered, hundreds of voices echoed through the room. Questions, cries, hopes, fears. Most revolved around Eli. Why him? He's not one of us. Is this a trick? Zara stepped forward, activating a platform. A golden light enveloped her. "I am Zara of House Zari," she announced. "I speak today not as a princess, but as a citizen. I have chosen this human not because of politics, but because he is honest, curious, and unafraid to admit when he is wrong." Eli blinked. Was that a compliment or an insult? Zara, oblivious to his internal debate, continued. "For too long we have built our empire on fear and formality. But the future does not belong to the powerful alone. It belongs to the brave, those willing to risk discomfort for connection. Eli Mercer is brave in his own way, and I choose him. Not because I must, but because I can." The chamber fell silent. Then a voice broke the stillness. "She sounds serious." Another. "At least he's not Talvik." A third. "He's kind of cute for a soft-skinned biped." Eli coughed. "Thanks." That night, as they walked together on one of the palace's floating balconies, Zara turned to Eli. "You did well today. I mostly just stood there while you made a speech. Sometimes standing beside someone is more powerful than standing alone." Eli looked up at the stars. "This is all still insane, you know?" She nodded. "Yes, but sometimes insanity is the only path to change." He looked at her, truly looked at her. Not just the alien beauty or the royalty, but the woman who sought to shake her empire, who dared to take a risk on him, a nobody from Earth. "Do you think this could work?" he asked quietly. Zara smiled. "It's already working." Eli Mercer stood at the edge of a glowing circle in the center of the Chamber of Judgments. The chamber, carved into a crystal mountain, its walls adorned with ancient symbols, was bathed in light from distant suns streaming through the glass ceiling, casting shifting rainbows across the floor. Across from him stood Princess Zara, tall and serene, dressed in formal armor. Behind them, hundreds of alien nobles observed from floating chairs, their expressions unreadable. This wasn't a party. It wasn't a ceremony. This was a test. "The trial of unity begins," a robotic voice, the herald, boomed through the hall. Eli took a deep breath. No pressure. Zara looked at him, a small, rare smile gracing her lips. "Don't faint." "I'll try not to throw up either," he whispered back. Trial of unity was an ancient Zari tradition. Whenever a royal chose a partner outside the noble bloodlines, they had to prove their bond through 3 trials: mind, heart, and action. Success meant legal acceptance of their union. Failure meant humiliation, a blow to Earth's standing in the Concord, a weakening of Zara's claim to the throne, and the probable escalation of civil war. Everything was at stake. The first trial commenced. A glowing table materialized between them, covered with alien puzzle pieces that floated in the air. The herald's voice resonated. Build the star key of Zaire, together, without speaking. Zara immediately began manipulating pieces with telepathic gestures. Her mind effortlessly controlled Zari tech. Eli, less fortunate, had to use his hands. He observed her movements, studying her patterns. She began forming a complex shape, part sphere, part tube. Eli noticed a subtle imbalance on one side. Instead of mirroring her, he began constructing the opposite side, acting as a counterpoint. When a piece drifted from her grasp, he caught it. When she paused, he matched her pause. Their hands moved in a synchronized dance, her mind and his instinct. Alien grace and human improvisation. The final piece hovered. They reached for it together, clicking it into place. The star key glowed gold. Applause rippled through the hall. Zara looked at Eli, a hint of surprise in her eyes. You understood. My design? I didn't need to, Eli said with a shrug. I just followed your lead and filled in the gaps. The herald's voice returned. You will now face the mirror of truth. If your bond is false, it will break. If it is real, it will reveal. A colossal crystal screen rose from the ground, shimmering like disturbed water. Zara stepped in first, her eyes calm. The crystal pulsed, displaying a memory. Her as a young girl, weeping alone in a darkened room while distant voices argued about war, duty, and arranged marriages. Eli stepped in next. The crystal shimmered again, revealing him in a classroom, attempting to explain humanity's propensity for war to a room full of bored students. His voice was tired, and in his eyes something worse than sadness lingered. Loneliness doth the mirror faded. True hearts, the herald proclaimed. Both seeking connection, both afraid of standing side by side. Soft applause followed. The nobles seemed genuinely moved. Zara turned to Eli, her voice quiet. You feel alone, too? He gave a small laugh. Earth is full of people, but sometimes ... yeah. She nodded slowly. Maybe that's why I trust you. The lights dimmed. A battle. Simulation engulfed them, holographic enemies, crumbling bridges, falling debris. Protect each other, the herald announced. You must reach the exit alive, together. Suddenly alien beasts materialized, glowing red eyes and sharp claws made of hard light, but real enough to inflict pain. Zara drew a blade from her back. It shimmered with electricity. Eli snatched a glowing staff from the floor. It felt heavy and awkward. They ran. A wall collapsed behind them. Zara leapt over it effortlessly. Eli tripped, rolling across the floor as a beast lunged. Zara spun, slicing the creature in half. You okay? She asked. Eli groaned. Not built for hero stuff. She helped him up. Then let's get you out of here before you die. As more enemies swarmed, Eli noticed a pattern. The creatures were appearing, based on their positions. He started calling out directions. Left. That one's fake. What if we move together? They glitch. Zara, with her combat prowess, followed his cues. Combining her skill and his pattern recognition, they reached the final room. A gate blocked their path. There was a single button, large, enough for only one person to press. The herald's voice echoed again. One must stay behind. Choose. Zara turned to Eli. Go. I can fight my way out later." Eli shook his head. "No, you're the future leader of your people. I'm just a guy who got lucky." He stepped toward the button. Zara grabbed his wrist. "Don't you dare." Their eyes met. Then Eli smiled. "Let's try something crazy." He picked up a piece of debris and wedged it into the button. The gate began to open slowly. Both of them sprinted through just as it sealed shut behind them. The simulation ended. The lights returned. The nobles were silent. Then the herald spoke. Trial passed. This time the applause shook the chamber. After the trial, Zara and Eli stood outside the chamber beneath the pale sky of Zaire's prime. Wind whispered through the crystal trees. Stars began to emerge. "I can't believe we passed," Eli said. "You?" "Surprised me," Zara admitted. "I surprise myself constantly." She looked at him. "You didn't hesitate to sacrifice yourself." "You didn't either." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Zara said, "You saw my childhood in the mirror." "That wasn't easy for me." "I know," Eli said softly. "You were alone." "I still am, mostly." Eli looked at her. "You're not alone now." Zara stepped closer. "You're not just a symbol anymore, Eli Mercer." "What?" Her voice was softer now. "Someone I trust." There was no kiss, no dramatic music, just two people standing close under alien stars, no longer strangers. The sky above Zaire's prime was no longer calm. Trails of smoke and fire streaked across the atmosphere. Alarms blared through the royal palace. Peaceful floating towers now flickering with angry red warning lights. A rebel fleet had arrived. Princess Zara stood on the palace balcony, her silver armor gleaming under the burning skies. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, focused. Beside her stood Eli Mercer, holding a communicator, a knot of worry in his stomach. "They're not just attacking," he said. "They're broadcasting live across the galaxy. The whole Concord is watching this." "They want to humiliate us," Zara replied. "They think if they destroy me, the dream of change dies with me." "And me?" Eli asked, swallowing hard. "They want you to run, to look like a scared outsider." Eli looked at the smoke trails in the sky. "Honestly, that would be a smart idea." Zara turned to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You ran toward danger in the trial. You trusted me. I need you to do that again." Eli let out a shaky breath. "You know, back on Earth I was never brave." She smiled faintly. "You are now." In the Royal War Chamber, the situation deteriorated by the second. Admirals barked orders. Holograms displayed red ships swarming into Zari space. The noble houses had fractured. Some defended the palace, others had joined the rebels. "This is more than rebellion," General Vierick, Zara's most loyal commander, stated grimly. "This is an attempted coup. They want the throne," Zara said. "They want you dead," Vierick corrected. Zara nodded. "Then we won't wait for them to come. We'll take the fight to them." Eli raised a hand. I have an idea. It's stupid and risky, but it might work." Zara raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Plan Eli, as the soldiers jokingly dubbed it, was audacious in its simplicity. Zara and Eli would secretly board an old Royal Scout ship, navigate a perilous secret canyon route, and reach the rebel command. Cruiser in orbit. From there, Eli would broadcast a message across the entire Concord using an ancient Alliance beacon. a device still recognized by every system. If the Concord believed in them, help would arrive. If not, they were utterly alone. The launch was swift and silent. Zara piloted the ship herself, her movements precise and fearless, a dancer's grace translated to a cockpit. Ally sat beside her, gripping the console as the small vessel hurtled through the mountain tunnels. Explosions rattled the canyon walls. Enemy drones, their sensors sweeping, flew above. Eli gritted his teeth. "So, just curious, do we have any stealth tech?" "No," Zara replied calmly. "But I know every shadow in this canyon." They flew low, scraping past ancient stone. The stars grew closer. Then a blast slammed into the ship's rear. "Engine hit," Eli shouted. Zara growled. "We still fly." Smoke filled the cockpit. Metal shrieked. But the ship, against all odds, burst through the cloud line and into orbit. Ahead, the rebel cruiser loomed, dark, spiked, and deadly. Zara whispered, "Let's finish this." Inside the cruiser, the rebels were caught off guard. Zara moved like lightning, disabling guards with precise stun strikes. Eli followed, mostly ducking and muttering sorry as he haphazardly pressed buttons. They reached the core chamber, where the Alliance beacon sat, an ancient device glowing with blue energy, capable of transmitting a message across every Concord world. Eli stepped up to the control pad, his hand trembling. "Once I send this," he said, his voice tight, "they'll all see me, hear me." Zara touched his hand. "Then let them see who you are." Eli took a deep breath and pressed the broadcast button. Blue light flooded the room. A hologram projected his face across thousands of systems. Every planet, every ship, every political council now saw a tired human man, a cut on his cheek, fear in his eyes, but standing tall. "Hi, I'm Ely Mercer. I'm from Earth. You might know me as the guy who accidentally proposed to a princess." He paused. The galaxy listened. "I didn't come here to start a war. I came to learn, to listen, to understand. But I saw something better. I saw a leader, a woman named Zara, who believes in peace, in real change, not forced by power, but chosen together." He looked off-screen, where Zara stood watching him quietly. "She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and now I believe in her. She doesn't want to rule with fear. She wants to lead with hope. And if that scares some of you, maybe it should." He leaned closer to the camera. "You want to know what humans really are? We mess up a lot, but we learn. We adapt, and we protect those who protect. U.S. So if you try to take her down, you're going to have to go through me." The feed ended. Silence. Then the beacon pulsed green. The Concord heard him. Back in Zari space, the tide began to turn. Ships that had been neutral now swung towards the rebels, firing. Messages poured in from dozens of systems. "We stand with Zara. The human speaks truth. Send coordinates. Our fleets are inbound." Zara smiled. He did it. On the rebel cruiser, alarms blared. Enemy soldiers stormed the chamber. Eli grabbed Zara's hand. "Time to run," she nodded. Together they fought. Their way back to the hangar, boarded an escape pod, and launched just as the ship exploded behind them, hit by Concord reinforcements. From their pod, they watched the stars. Zara turned to him. "You didn't just save me. You saved our future, Eli laughed. I don't think I can go back to being a language teacher after this. Good, she said, smiling. I was hoping you'd stay. He blinked. In the palace? My life? The pod landed safely near the capital. Hours later, people waited, cheering, chanting, holding banners emblazoned with symbols of both Earth and Zari unity. A crowd parted as Zara and Eli stepped out, hand in hand. General Varric saluted. The galaxy saw your heart, Princess ... And his. Zara turned to Eli. They believe in us now. Eli smiled. And we just have to figure out how to date without starting another war. Zara laughed, a sound she rarely made. And then, in front of 1,000 witnesses, the alien princess leaned close and whispered again, Why don't you date me, human? And Eli's heart, once again, began to dance. Peace had returned to Zaire's prime. The skies were clear again, the towers rebuilt, the glowing rivers below flowing smooth as silver threads. But today the world prepared for something more profound than war, politics, or even tradition. Today was the royal bonding ceremony, the wedding of Princess Zara and the human, who had changed everything, Eli Mercer. Thousands of guests from across the galaxy filled the royal gardens. Blue leaves sparkled with energy lights. Alien children played among glowing orbs that floated like balloons. Representatives from over 60 worlds stood together, former enemies, now allies. At the center of it all, beneath a tall arch crafted from stardust crystal, Zara stood in her ceremonial robes, a flowing silver and violet gown that shimmered with every movement. Her crown was no longer just a symbol of power. Now it represented choice, hope, and unity. Eli stood across from her, clad in a formal Earth-style suit, adorned with Zari gold patterns down the sleeves. He looked nervous but radiant, his hands trembling slightly, but his smile undeniably real. As the high speaker raised his staff, the vast crowd quieted. Today we witness a bond formed, not by politics, but by choice, not by force, but by heart. The high speaker turned to Zara. Do you, Princess of Zyrus, bond yourself to this human soul in unity, truth, and hope? Zara met Eli's eyes. I do. Then the high speaker turned to Eli. Do you, Eli Mercer of Earth, accept this bond not as a gift, but as a path you choose freely with all the risks it holds? Eli took a breath. I do. With that, the crystals above the arch ignited, sending a pulse of light into the sky that formed an unbroken, glowing circle. The entire crowd cheered. But deep within the throng, a black, cloaked, shadowed figure narrowed his eyes. His time would come. Later that night, in the private royal garden, Zara and Ele sat on a floating platform, surrounded by stars. The palace lights flickered like distant fireflies behind them. Eli sipped a glowing blue drink. So, we're married. Now, crazy, right? Zara smiled softly. You're now officially the first human royal consort in Zari history. Eli looked proud, then paused. Do I have to wear a crown, too? She laughed, a rare, melodious sound. Only if you want to scare children. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, savoring the peace. Then Eli turned serious. Zara, do you ever think we moved too fast? That the galaxy wasn't ready? No, she looked at him with calm eyes. The galaxy is never ready. That's why. Someone has to lead first. Eli nodded. I just hope I'm strong enough. "You are," she said simply. Then a sharp whistle pierced the tranquility of the garden. Zara stood quickly. "That's a danger signal," Eli frowned. "On our wedding night?" Moments later, a palace guard rushed forward, breathing heavily. "Princess, there's been a security breach. Someone broke into the royal vault." Zara's eyes turned cold. "What was taken?" The guard hesitated. "The scepter of stars." Eli blinked. "Is that important?" Zara's voice was quiet but firm. "It's more than important. It controls the Celestial Council beacon. Whoever has it can rewrite royal law." Eli stood up, his face pale. "So someone just stole the keys to the galaxy?" Zara nodded. "We're not finished yet. The thief was no ordinary criminal. He called himself Vorin, Zara's distant cousin, a former noble, stripped of his title for supporting the rebellion. Now he had stolen the scepter, hoping to force the council to crown him in Zara's place. His goal wasn't just revenge. It was to erase everything Zara had built, to dismantle the human alliance, to drag the galaxy back to a world of fear and control. He sent a message to the palace. "You have 1 hour. Surrender the throne, or I activate the beacon and strip your claim forever." Zara stood in the war room once again, but this time as a queen, not a princess. Generals looked to her. Guards awaited orders. But Zara turned to Eli. "What do you think we should do?" Eli blinked. "Me. You're the heart of this new alliance. I trust your instinct." Eli looked at the star map, where Vorin's stolen ship was headed towards a remote satellite. He tapped a few buttons. "I think we don't chase him with ships," he said. Zara raised an eyebrow. "No," Eli continued. "We chase him with truth. With something he can't destroy." The next hour was chaos. Stealth ships launched. Diplomats desperately delayed the council. And Zara and Eli boarded a small craft, heading straight for Vorin's location. They arrived at the satellite as Vorin prepared the beacon. He wore black ceremonial robes and held the glowing scepter like a weapon. "You're too late," he said, a sneer twisting his lips. "I already began the override. Soon the council will obey me." Zara stepped forward. "You think power is the same as leadership?" "It is," Vorin spat. "You gave the galaxy weakness. Trust, love a human. I offer strength." Eli stepped forward now. "You call trust a weakness?" Vorin laughed. "You don't belong here, Earth boy." Eli stood taller. "I do now." He reached into his jacket and held up a glowing cube, the Unity beacon device, created after the trials, capable of sharing memories with everyone connected to the Concord. Eli activated it. Suddenly, holograms filled the sky. Images of the trials, the mirror, the speech, the rescue, the wedding. Millions watching now saw everything. They saw Zara fight for peace. They saw Eli stand for truth. And they saw the face of Vorin, twisted by hate, clutching stolen power. The galaxy judged, and it chose. In a flash of light, Vorin's override was cancelled. Concord ships surrounded the satellite. He was taken without a fight, his eyes burning with impotent fury. The danger was over, and Zara had won. 1 week later, peace was official. The Concord recognized the new laws of alliance. Earth was granted full status. Eli was offered a position as a Unity ambassador, and the galaxy began to change, slowly but truly. In the royal gardens, Zara and Eli walked hand in hand. He looked at her and asked, So what now? She smiled. Now we build. We lead together. Eli laughed softly. I still don't know how to act royal. You don't need to, she said. You just need to be real. He paused. You know, when you first said, "Why don't you date me, human?" I thought you were joking. Zara turned to him, serious but kind. I never joke about my heart. And Eli, looking into her eyes under alien stars, knew this was only the beginning of a new world, of a love strong enough to unite the stars.